Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Elite Growth Podcast, the show where the founders and innovators share the strategies shaping the future of business, technology, and growth. I'm your host, Kiran Prakash, and today's episode is proudly sponsored by NeuroAgentic AI Labs, helping business scale with AI employees and autonomous multi agent growth systems. These agent systems work 24/7 so humans can focus on what matters: creativity, relationship, and the real results. Right now, we are witnessing one of the biggest workforce transition in the history. AI is replacing traditional roles. Graduates are entering career that no longer exists, and even the experienced professionals are questioning their future. But if this shift leads to a new era of entrepreneurship, what if one person could run a full scale business from their phone powered by AI agents? That's exactly the world L3NS.ai is building. Our guest today, Tom Capone, has scaled more than 200 brands and generated over $54 million revenue through AI driven marketing. And now he's on a mission to empower everyone, not just big companies, with the same agent powered system used by the enterprise giants. Tom, welcome to the Elite Growth Podcast.
Thanks for the amazing introduction, Kieran. Yeah, super excited to be on.
Perfect. Tom, for the listeners who may not know you yet, could you give us a quick introduction to you and your journey?
Yeah, so around 5 years ago, I founded my AI and AR digital marketing agency. Essentially, the problem we were solving for medium to large clients like L'Oreal, Uber Eats, TripAdvisor, etc., was marketing their product online through AI ads, AI content, AI influencer, AI community email, like all of these different tactics to generate users on products online. And so around 5 years ago, that was started. Around a couple years ago, my co-founder joined with me, and we basically started implementing these very new AI technologies that we built up with the agencies to create our software platform, Lens AI. And this is a culmination of us saying, hey, we've done it for these really, really big brands. We've been insiders, basically architecting their AI growth and AI marketing systems to get sales online. And we see so many disruptive products, which on a day-to-day basis are struggling with just that. And they really can't get the product in the hands of the consumers that they want. And so, the big divide there is that the startups don't afford an agency like the one I had, or a consultant, or a freelancer, or even a team member. And unfortunately, then that's where the 9 startups out of 10 stat comes from. It's just like it's the math. At the end of the day, if you don't know where to put your marketing budget, then and you put it in the wrong places, you're going to run out of time, money, and then eventually the startup is never going to get in the hands of its consumers. So that's the problem we're solving with Lens AI.
Excellent journey. Um, so, the big question here, are we heading towards mass unemployment due to AI or new kind of work?
So I think the big thread that we really pulled on when we started on this journey building this software is really that we are not actually building a software simply for founders. In an era of AI where we've seen Amazon laying off like over 15,000 people last month, and we really believe that's not going to stop. We really believe it's going to propagate in multiple industries, and it's going to keep growing. And ultimately, if that curve, that curve in terms of AI unemployment growth goes up, what you're going to end up with is going to be a future where people either become autonomous and they have their own product that they commercialize online, that they build online, and that they basically run their business with and generate their their money with, or you're going to end up in a future where those same people which are being laid off are simply going to be dependent from governments. And so what we pulled, the thread we pulled on with Lens AI wasn't simply one of saying founders have a marketing problem. It was one of saying, hey, if this curve keeps going up, we're going to end up in a future where people are really going to need, building and launching products and distributing them to be something simple that has all technical barriers removed to it. We've seen companies like Lovable and Cursor removing barriers in building software apps and therefore product development. But the problem remains, if you can't distribute that product, it never becomes a company. You never become an entrepreneur. And so that's what we're solving for. It's like, just like they can build a product with, like, their users can build a product with one click, we can basically distribute it with another click.
Yeah. No, that's very interesting, right? Like now, we there's a huge potential of being an entrepreneur, and then there's a huge support. There are like products like what you are bringing into the market, like because that's the biggest challenge, right? To get the clients reach the product to the right place. And what other big challenge I'm seeing is the mindset, right? Like before even they get into becoming entrepreneur, like it's the mindset. I think that's one of the biggest challenge. Once they get through that, build a product, and um, then there is a definite success, because using the current ecosystem they can go through that. um, what do you say to someone who invested years into career, now it is going to be automated and they're going to be replaced? What is your advice to them?
Honestly, I try and take a look on it, which is try and look at the worst possible scenario available, at least in the realms of potential reality. Try and look at that and try and be an optimist person about that. I think that I think it's the best way to stay rooted in a potentially destructive reality for what you think today, like how things work, but also be an optimist around rebuilding that kind of this this kind of destructive reality that you'd be living off, and like, where do you fit in building upon that? So I think at least working in marketing, what I can say is over the last 5 years I've seen the advancements of being able to like struggling to run a full marketing campaigns for a brand, ads, like content, influencers, like all of it with a 20-person team, and now it being really easy to do with a 1-person team plus a software like Lens AI, for example. But also the other cool thing is what we've seen, the shift in marketers, is that jobs are not usually generalized jobs. We live in an economy where most jobs are specialized. That's why people go to universities and get degrees to specialize over the course of the years, and then kind of only act in a specific niche. And what I think is going to change, I'm just going to make the analogy with the marketing part, is like in marketing, you would be an ad specialist, for example, or you would be a content specialist, or you would be like an influencer marketing specialist, or whatever it is, an email specialist. And so all of a sudden, what these AI tools do is they go and solve specific areas of problems. And so that these areas of problems, like in our case, getting from 0 to 1 million users on your product, requires different kind of niche expertise. to be able to do that. And so these AI tools group all of that together. That's why you have the AI marketer, you have the AI lawyer, the AI finance person, the AI whatever, the AI software engineer. But obviously that kind of at a very granular level, it comprises a lot of different pieces of expertise. What now people can do today, again, I'll go back to my marketing example, is like a marketer, which is an ad specialist, can become also a content specialist, also an influencer specialist. And so all of a sudden, what that's going to do is it's going to 10x your market value in front of your clients, in front of your potential job providers. And so that's kind of how I look at it when you kind of say, hey, your job is being taken out. Well, no, actually, you're being given tools that allow you to specialize 10 times quicker, 100 times quicker in all of your niche topic expertise. And then you can give that back to the market in terms of value that you can provide. So that's basically it.
I think that's very well said, Tom. Like to people are just focusing on a specialized area. They need to think about a generalized because now there is capabilities out there. Like they can expand um, their area and then provide a bigger solution. And what I always say is like now instead of focusing on just a specific solution or just providing a point and endpoint solution, like people need to think of becoming a problem solver, and to solve a problem it's entire thing, right? Like it's not just one specific thing. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what signals convinced you that the shift is accelerating faster than society can adapt?
Um, that's a great question. I think, to be honest, it's probably a mix of, let's say, the in general, like the private sector and how it's been handling AI. Again, I'll refer to the main AI infrastructure companies, the Googles, the Metas, the Open AIs. Like they've really gone in a direction where like most of their company is like uh, R&D, so research and development, which is aimed at creating commercial value for people in the market. And so a lot of startups all of a sudden can be started off the back of that, and a lot more needs can be fulfilled for consumers. To be honest, the main divide again that I see there is like if you're not up to date with what's happening with these AI infrastructure companies, and maybe you're, I don't know, locked up inside maybe an institution like, maybe like schools, university, which at the current moment, by the way, they still do not allow you to leverage some of these tools, which I think is really crazy. Because like kind of people have AI job displacement uncertainty because they're not trained on AI. They're not sure like how people are leveraging it in these commercial sectors. And so what I see, of course, is a problem of alignment between what these entities, these institutions kind of do in terms of aligning, having a closer feedback loop with what's happening with these AI infrastructure companies. Hopefully they're solving that. But the other thing is like, I think people are uncertain about AI because they don't have a clear vision for where it's going to end up. And what I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast for me is a very clear vision of where things are ultimately going to end up. And whether you want to accept it or not, it's most of the time it's either one or the other. It can't be in the middle. It's like, are we going to end up being fully self-dependent thanks to AI and fully autonomous thanks to AI, or are we going to end up in a world where AI basically controls us more, and like we become more dependent on it, and then who owns the AI then becomes kind of it becomes kind of a master and slave relationship in that sense. So I think this is a very clear, distinct choice someone has to make when they think about how AI is going to shape society. It's like, do I want to use it to be more of a problem solver and basically bring more value into the world, and ultimately build a product which can sustain me without having to rely on the government or whoever it is. And yeah, and the latter. So I would opt for the latter, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And also I've been seeing like recent days there's a little dip in the AI adaptation like because initially there was the issue with the hallucination. They overcome with the thinking models and reasoning models, and then a little better, and then still at this point people who are adopting they don't see the complete results. They cannot 100% rely on it, and then again a little bit dip. I think with the new models releasing, things will pick up for sure. And as you rightly said, like a lot of organizations don't, they're stopping their employees from using AI right now. Like because many of my clients are public sector, like with whom I work on digital transformation projects with them, and they are really like they don't want to adopt AI right at this moment. They need to be clear on the safe security and all other aspects.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there tends to be a more conservative approach in public sector regarding to technology, and that's a historic trend that happened throughout the internet revolution, and it's going to happen in the AI revolution. The only thing I would be concerned with is this AI revolution is going to have a bigger upskilling gap, a bigger retraining gap compared to the internet gap, I think, because it's like I think it's gonna really impact a lot more industries than the internet did. And based on that, I wouldn't wait to understand everything about it, because it's always going to keep evolving. We see updates from these big AI infrastructure companies every week, sometimes every day. So it's always going to be evolving. The moment you understand it, that's going to change. Your understanding of it is going to change and evolve. And so it's hard to create very stabilized programs around it. There has to be a kind of a continuous how to say, a continuous evolving system that allows these public sector companies to basically like keep plugging in new workflows, new tools, new systems that are currently being leveraged today in private sector as well. Yeah.
True. So, who do you think is at most at risk, and who has the biggest advantage in this new AI economy?
Yeah, that's a super interesting question. I think a lot of AI key AI players have been hinting at the fact that white collar jobs will be the first ones to go. So we're talking about essentially nurses, potentially police officers, etc. The reason for that, I think, is that these are older jobs. Like these are like, if you look at the amount of knowledge that we have and intellectual property that we built around these jobs for the last few hundred years, it's much bigger than, for example, an SEO specialist, right? Which like, for example, the internet has been around, for like 20 years, whatever it is. And so I think, to be honest, it will probably be I would I would agree with these guys saying that these white collar jobs might be the ones more at risk, because they're kind of they're inside industries that have a lot of intellectual property built up, and we know that intellectual property is data, and we know that data in the AI era is like number one in terms of like being able to then build software around it and make that data actually useful and work and make people more productive. And then what I would say to the biggest advantage in the new AI economy is like people won't have to do things that are boring anymore. I think that's the biggest thing. I think there's a big risk in, for example, removing someone that works at a bank. Um, like maybe like shifting papers across a desk. But I would also say that that is arguably a less exciting job than potentially, I don't know, creating a AI banking app, or potentially kind of solving all types of different problems that these new uh, like AI powered bank infrastructure might have, right? So that there's new problems are going to evolve from restructuring these jobs and restructuring these organizations. And then I think those problems will be able to get solved by these people who have displaced, but in the form of creating products, if that makes sense. That's, I think, the exciting vision of where things are going in my mind is those jobs will be at risk, most at risk, but also those people have the power to basically solve new problems for these revolutionized AI powered infrastructures, which they were previously working in.
Yeah. For listeners who are new to this concept, can you help them understand how an AI agent can replace these boring jobs, which, as you mentioned, just to give an example?
Yeah, so a very simple example. Again, I'll kind of shift to maybe marketing a product, which is, I guess, been my field for the last few years. For example, we have very clear IP around what an ad agency does, right? So that there's advertising agencies that companies hire to basically create like script ads, research script ads, create ads, and then launch them on maybe advertising platforms like Meta ads or Google ads or TikTok ads. And then after launch, basically track which ads are performing best and which are not, and then reallocate the budget towards the ones that are performing best. It's very simple. So that, like, to sum it up, it's that would be the intellectual property of doing an ad campaign. Then there's going to be levels in terms of how detailed that is, and in terms of the data that you're providing. So there's going to be intellectual property, for example, that we're using in our software, that companies that did like 2x return on investment to 50x return on investment with these ad campaigns, right? And there's going to be like companies even like L'Oreal, Greece, TripAdvisor doing that. And so the quality of the data level, when you like, it's very easy to map the actual steps, right? The script, the research, the script, the ad creation, the upload of the ad to the platform, and then the optimization part. What is harder is when you get granular, is like you're gonna get a lot of very specialized nuances around this specific problem, and you're gonna get the best. You're gonna be like the level of how well you can solve the nuances is determined from the quality of the data. So what I would say is AI agents essentially are kind of, I would say, human, kind of, they're a human symbiote, which is basically like a duplicate of the human that can essentially work when potentially the human has passive time, right? So when the human is sleeping, he doesn't do any work, right? That's a moment where the AI agent could be let off, and you could go and basically, like, 8 hours of sleep, that's a working day for most people. You could do like your whole work day, while you sleep, and then you wake up and you can do, and you basically don't have the stress of being as productive during the day. So that's the benefit. It doesn't mean you don't have to work during the day, right? You can still do productive things, but it means the stress level and the pressure is completely lowered if you have an output based job, like you can get that done by the AI agent in these passive times. Yeah.
So, the AI agents in this current state, do you think they are quite effective? Can you 100% rely on them to generate your email campaigns, cold email campaigns, or ad campaigns and stuff? Or do you still see some gap there?
Yeah, that's yeah. Going back to these AI infrastructure companies making weekly, daily updates, that's a very hard question to respond to, because every day we get new models that kind of the shift the bar. That we used to think it was at that level, and now it's slightly higher, and then tomorrow it might be slightly higher. But what we can observe from that is that the trend of autonomous execution is constantly growing, and that's a great thing. That's a good signal for an AI company to build on, right? You want to know that whether you're building an AI marketer or an AI finance person or an AI lawyer, that these workflows are becoming more and more reliable, and these AI infrastructure companies, which are investing a lot of money. We hear a lot of people talking about AI bubbles and stuff like that, right? But the fact is actually, is the money being invested moving us on an upwards trajectory in terms of the level of the technology, right? That's the important thing, because ultimately you can call it a bubble all you want, but you're only going to be able to determine that when you connect the points looking backwards. You're not going to know it whilst it's happening, because these models have very big leaps in the infrastructure reliability and be able to execute a wider amount of tasks and being able to be trained on multiple use cases. And so what I would say is today they can probably replace 50% of an agency if we're talking about marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Not 100%, but I would probably say that within the next year, within 1 year, within maximum 2 years, they would be able to replace 100% of it. And the reason I say this is there's a lot of really cool companies building in the space. AI distribution, AI product distribution is really big, and also these AI infrastructure companies. If you hear about the updates, they're usually updates on vibe marketing models, right? It's like this AI video tool just released this new thing, and it's 10x better than the other one. Like where I hear the most that the companies, these AI infrastructure companies, are making strides in is usually AI marketing, and that's really good news for a company who's building in that direction.
Perfect. Let's talk about Lens.ai. How does Lens AI democratize access to what was previously enterprise only technology?
Um, yeah, so there's a couple of ways. The first one is this concept that we call flight mode AI. And so what this means for us is basically that you can spend tokens on marketing tasks, and from the moment you spend tokens on that task, it will go to execution. Our AI execution agent will basically, whether it's an ad task or an influencer or content, email, SEO, whatever it is, he will go to execute it inside the platform. What will happen upon execution, like when he's finished, he'll basically come back to your iOS screen saying, hey, I finished, review or approve. So again, it's for me very much like in the sleeping example, where someone's sleeping, and then you're able to wake up in the morning with 10 tasks to review and approve. I think that's an ideal scenario to be in, especially if you're a brand owner, if you have your own product. There's a lot of, like, for example, with ads, you're spending money on a daily basis, and you risk, like, if your ads don't go well, you risk you're losing money every hour of the day. And so having, compared to having an agency which of humans which might go to sleep while your ads is still running, I think this is an amazing solution that was only able to was only existent to like enterprise brands before, because enterprise brands have probably like a US team and a Europe team and an Asia team, right? And the time zone thing is not a problem for a founder that maybe lives in the US. He goes to sleep. He doesn't have a team, and the ads could fuck up. The influencer campaign could fuck up, and then he wakes up the next morning and he's maybe minus 10% conversions, and he has to spend the whole day fixing that. Instead, you have this AI agent, which is your Jarvis for marketing, basically.
Perfect. And why is distribution, not the product, the biggest bottleneck today?
That's a big one. I'm gonna cite a bunch of companies here. I think what Cluely did in terms of distribution, it it might have given like a lot of brands like the biggest blueprint and the biggest reveal around the fact that people buy the promise. Like, especially in this AI era where everything's like, even the impossible becomes possible in terms of like product build and product development. The promise counts more than anything. Like the emotion that someone experiences when consuming the product and transforming from point A to point B is what counts. And so distribution becomes the key pillar, because you don't necessarily need a product today to sell someone on the promise. You can sell them on a wait list. You can sell them on a pre-order of the product. Validate market demand in advance before spending thousands of dollars on building a product. And then once you have X amount of pre-orders, X amount of waitlist users, then you go build the product. That's why I think distribution is super powerful. This is something that Lens AI takes care of, especially for people who, like, imagine like a 9 to 5 worker who gets laid off by one of these big tech companies because of AI, right? And then, what they might experience is that Lens AI, wow, I have a product I'm passionate about. I always wanted to build it, but I didn't have the opportunity. Now, what can I do? I can validate distribution. Through distribution, I can validate whether people are interested in this potential product before building it, before going in this kind of vortex tunnel for like 12 months building a product, and then 12 months and one day you discover that no one really wants it. And so that's why distribution is super key in the AI era, especially when products are really easy to build as well. Yeah, I would prioritize that.
Yeah. And you said, is that something Lens AI does as well?
Yeah, exactly. So Lens AI has two agents. One is an AI strategy agent, and the other one is the AI execution agent. So before, I was talking to you about the AI execution agent, which is the guy that basically does the tasks. He comes back with the output and tells you to review and improve. What the AI strategy agent does is he coordinates with the execution agent in terms of like what strategic direction you want to take to basically get your product to market. So I'll give you an example here. You can basically talk from your iOS screen, just click a speech button and talk to your AI strategy agent. And what's going to happen is that he finds out about the current state of your product. Are you at idea stage? So you have no product built, just have an idea for a product that you want to validate. Is your product already built? So are you at kind of MVP stage where you have a minimum viable product that you built? Or are you already at one of the growth stages? Or you're already from like zero to zero to 1,000 users, 1,000 to 10,000 users on your product, or 10,000 to 100,000, 100,000 to a million? That's kind of how we look at it. And so once the AI strategy agent knows that, what he's going to propose, for example, if you're at idea stage and you potentially like you're a student, or you just got laid off, and you have this idea, but you never had the time to build it. What he's probably going to say is like, hey, we can build all of these marketing, like we can test all of these marketing channels. We can leverage influencer, we can leverage content, we can leverage ads, right? And we can, and he's going to fit it based on your budget, your timelines, your objectives in terms of users, in terms of revenue. And then once he gives you that map, what he'll say is, okay, the offer we can go for, if you're at the idea stage and you don't have a product available, might be to launch a wait list or launch a pre-order for your product, right? And then through that campaign, communicating the promise through these ads, this content, these influencer campaigns, then you get feedback from your users, or at least from these potential users. And the ultimate commitment is like, can a potential user become a user? If a potential buyer becomes an actual buyer of a pre-order or an actual waitlist, even by committing to the waitlist, by, I don't know, following your brand pages on social media, whatever the commitment has to be, then that's a win for you. Like you have some sort of validation that this product is actually something that you need to build for the world.
I think that is excellent. Like depending on your journey, where you are with the product journey, and it gives a proper strategy. And to be frank, I haven't seen any tools like that. And this is the kind of guidance, like especially when we are talking about someone who's a student or someone who's laid off. Like this is a very good starting point, and I really admire your effort and thinking and bringing this into this product. So, and yeah, so now we have the product idea and then they launch the product. So what happens when one person can launch and scale a product without hiring anyone? Can they manage?
So again, first of all, I would say, so just a quick disclaimer, what we're building here, we are releasing as a pre-order ourselves in December. And then in Q2 2026, this is going to be active and available. The reason I'm disclaiming this is because I think launching and scaling a product from 0 to 1 million users is something you will most probably be able to do around the time that the Lens AI is publicly available. So in Q2 2026, that would be around April to June. And so with that being said, what would happen once you leverage a tool like ours to get from 0 to 1 million users on your product is, I think there's two big consequences to that. One is obviously you have an incredible gained kind of velocity around your startup. Like like starting up a project becomes automatically like the feedback loops are much more closed. You're just speaking with this AI agent to like talk about any of your distribution tactics and strategies. And you have these two agents in our case, which one you would talk to about, hey, I have this new launch video idea or this new ad idea for my product. Can I incorporate it in the strategy? And he would say, hey, yes. And he would communicate with the other AI execution agent and automatically would be inserted in your task list. And then by simply spending tokens, then boom, he would go and do that task for you. But also he would give you feedback on whether the idea is worth executing in the first place, and be very critical about that, having the knowledge of all these 2x, 50x return on investment campaigns that we've trained them on. I think what's going to happen is you gain velocity in terms of workflow because you're collaborating with AI, you're not collaborating with humans. Unfortunately, whether we want to admit it or not, human employees are not as motivated as human entrepreneurs when working on a project. Again, I advise for entrepreneurs to look for people who are really passionate about solving the problem that the company is solving and changing the world. But just being realistic, that's a very hard shot that you have in terms of HR, which is the second problem that I would list you. The consequence of not having to hire anyone is like you don't lose a lot of time and money on HR. HR is like one of the biggest constraints. Like if you look at like the Fortune 500 CEOs and all these guys, they always speak about HR is the first issue, like lack of talent. It's just like it's a constant recurring issue that founders and entrepreneurs have is like we can't hire good enough people, or we can't hire people that are aligned enough with the problem or obsessed enough with the problem that the company is solving, etc. And so I would say the feedback loop between you and getting to your result gets quicker. Then you don't have these very horizontal HR tasks. You can move vertically. You can move vertically in terms of product and in terms of marketing and distribution instead of moving horizontally in terms of HR, because you already have your main figures. If Lens AI were to be the agents of Lens AI would be your main point of reference for marketing and distribution, then potentially if you're a SaaS company, then you have Lovable and Cursor for the product part. And that becomes really easy and streamlined, right? And once you're able to have that for, let's say, finance and maybe like a legal AI agent, then it becomes a whole lot easier because you're not dealing with an infinite pipeline of humans that you have to filter out and qualify and get on interviews with. You know, these AI companies are working on that problem very specifically and solving the entrepreneurship problem, and then you can rely on these infrastructure players to build your company, which becomes 10 times, 100 times more powerful.
Perfect. And you mentioned about pre-order, right? And the price is quite good as well. Why the price and the launch at 90% off? What's the thinking behind the behind accessibility first?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't want to. I don't want to explain it from like a Lens AI kind of operational team perspective. I want to simply explain it from a perspective of what I was saying before, like pre-order, waitlist, get you validation that people want your product. So first of all, why a pre-order and not build the product before launching an offer for the product? I just think is going to be time wasted if people, simply like we build the perfect product and then we get some users in and then they don't find it useful, or like you're just building in the wrong problem space. You're not going to solve that once you have users in. You're locked in, right? If you're selling a pre-order, a waitlist, you can change a line, you can change an image, a video, like you can completely change that, and that affects the whole logic and the mental framework that you have around what the product does, what it solves, what it stands for. So I think there's a very fluid aspect to launching an offer like that. And then the second aspect of it is the 90% discount, which you're talking about. For us, this is a symbolic amount that we're charging, in this case, $97 for basically a license that is worth, nearly $1,000. And so, in our case, instead of paying $1,000 at launch, you can pay $100 6 months before launch. And then in the meantime, what will it be able to do is give you all the information systems that we use to leverage to basically grow like companies like L'Oreal, Uber Eats, TripAdvisor, and build the Lens AI software. So essentially what we're saying is on day one, you get all the AI workflows, the plugin templates, and inside of a course that is explained from the founders of Lens AI, And then 6 months after, based on the feedback that we're also receiving to the course, to the information, then you're going to have the software available, and that's going to be perfect. So that it's kind of a small nugget where we've leveraged community to basically like plug in an information-based product and get feedback on our software, which we're launching through our information-based product, without having to fully commit to building a full product, which is locked in and you can't easily shift from, if that makes sense. It's not about like the money, the time. It also is about that, but it's mainly around like, if I want to pivot midway and have a fully built product, I'm invested time wise and money wise, and unless I have unlimited resources, I'm just gonna stick to what I've done. If you get what I'm saying. So again, I would really advise people to look at alternative ways of building your offers out, and ways that are kind of no strings attached to do it as well, in a way that you can pivot away from your initial product idea.
I think the second part, what you explained, explains my next question. I was about to ask, what will early adopters receive that others may not? I think you have covered most of it, right? If
Yeah,
there's
yeah. I mean,
anything else, yeah.
I can maybe like give one more line on that.
Yeah.
Basically, in December, the systems that we're giving away inside our 0 to 1 million user course, which is dropped inside our community, those systems we use to generate over $50 million for companies like L'Oreal, Uber Eats, TripAdvisor, etc. These are AI influencer systems, AI content systems, AI email systems, AI SEO systems, AI community systems. So what we'll be doing is we'll be giving away basically a fraction of this course at launch, at pre-order launch, so that people can get a ready-made system to get 100 million views a month with AI content marketing, and get basically a $1 million a month AI influencer marketing systems with a $0 upfront cost. So these are the two basically kind of tasters that we're giving out for the course. Just to give you an idea that this is something very practical. It's just simply me running these AI systems like I would do with my team, on a video, and like literally doing things instead of talking about things and kind of in theory. And these things I'm doing are exactly the same things that our AI agents inside our softwares are able to do. And so you're investing in this knowledge, as well as a lot of tokens, exactly 10x more tokens than you would get at launch, because you're paying $100 for the tokens that you would get with $1,000.
Perfect. Looks exciting. And how do you define success for Lens AI by 2030?
Did you say 2030?
Yeah,
So in
2030.
around 5 years?
5 years, yeah.
Yeah. I think both me and the team would be extremely, grateful if, let's say 10 million more people got into building products and launching them. You know, I think it would be a major, and again, I might be slightly rough with the numbers, but it would be a major achievement for us to give an alternative path to whoever is uncertain about AI and how that's going to impact their job, to become autonomous by launching a product that they're interested in, they're obsessed in with AI. And so I think that would be a great achievement for us and the team, as well as obviously helping the current founders who are struggling with pre-existing product ideas to basically like increase the product market fit success rate. So like the rate of product failure every year should go down because of Lens AI. So these, I think these are like two core metrics that we're looking at in terms of like reducing the 9 startups out of 10 fails statistic. So that's one statistic. And then the second one would be how many more people are building and launching products. Obviously, with the help of these amazing other companies like Lovable, Cursor, Replit, which are allowing you to build products in a snap of fingers, basically.
Excellent. We are close to the time, and what I see, Tom, is like you have a very big vision and to help people. And I, as far as I know about the product which you have explained, I'm quite excited. I want to be on board. Like this is going to be an exciting journey. Like I don't see any product like this to kind of hand holding people who are like very new, like who are graduates or who have lost their job. This is you are building a hope and you're hand holding them and taking them to get to next level. And I wish you all the best. And this is going to be a great product, of course. Um, and
Thank
for the, thank you. And for those listening, whether you have been impacted by layoffs, struggling to start a business, or ready to launch something bold, visit Lens AI. This could be the moment you shift from job seeker to be a founder. This episode was brought to you by Neuroagentic AI Labs, helping business build digital workforce through AI employees and autonomous multi-agents. I'm your host, Kiran Prakash, and thank you for tuning into Elite Growth Podcast. Until next time, don't wait for the future, build it. Thanks again, Tom, for such an insightful session today.
thank you, Kiran, for the opportunity.
Perfect. Thank you.